Something I don't talk about that much with the quilts is that after you've finished, unless you want your quilt to be like a brick, you do actually need to remove as much of the stabiliser as possible. So it's a lot easier if you use a tearaway one, which is the one that I tend to put in the kits these days. Some of the cutaway ones are a bit stiffer, so they can be easier to do if you're first beginning. So I'd recommend those as well. But if you're doing something where you're actually going to be quilting it and not mounting it on something, it is worthwhile going with the cutaways. The dissolvable stabilisers tend to be, you put them underneath your work usually, and they kind of stick, so it's not, doesn't make your work smooth, so not very nice to use, so I don't use them. Good for what, you know, embroideries and things like that, but not so good for quilting. Please excuse the state of my nails. If I'm going to do these videos, I'm actually going to have to, like, you know, not just leave my nail varnish until it all falls off. I have to do that on a regular basis and be good. And the other noise in the background is the printer, which is going hell for leather at the minute. I've been very pleased to have got that new printer, because it has been a lifesaver, because I've had an awful lot of patterns to print at this time with the Christmas sale. So anyway, rather than just rambling, what I'm doing is removing all the big pieces, and then anywhere where it should just be background, you want to try and get rid of those bits. And then anywhere that's big that you think you could get out. So if you can see what I'm doing, I'm kind of holding the surrounding embroidery with my left hand, and then kind of scraping with my rather tatty looking nails with my right hand, and then that helps stop you pulling, because it's been perforated by your sewing, so it will go. But if you've got anything like, you know, whiskers or something, might be better sometimes just leaving those, or at least really firmly hold with your left hand, so that when you're pulling, your left hand is keeping it all in place, and then you're not going to accidentally tug any of those kind of looser stitches out. But I tend to, on this, what I tend to do is, like, either as I'm going along, as soon as I finish a block, I remove some of it, or if I'm going to do it at the end, sometimes I get the kids to help me, although Ellie's ridiculously slow at it. We all have a bit of a race, and she just, I don't know, it's because she's like a teenager, but she can do like half a block in the time the rest of us can do, like, you know, 2 or 3. But possibly she doesn't want to be asked to do it, but otherwise I do like just 1 block or 2 blocks, and then I go and do something else, because if you do too much of it at a time, you get bored and you start leaving. Oh, that won't matter. And it does stiffen up the quilts. And then if you want, when you're doing the quilting, if you want it to kind of look like the animals or plants or whatever really kind of pop out, you need to be able to really kind of squish the background down. And if it's thick with stabiliser, then it just doesn't give that, it just doesn't give the same effect. So really try it. And you can see as well that I've not got rid of all the loose threads, so that does make it a little bit more difficult. But if you can leave them in, it means that, well, they can't come undone if they're still threaded, haven't they? So it just gives it a little bit extra strength of not loosening. But it does mean sometimes when you're doing this, you've got to try and thread it underneath various bits. But yeah, and you just keep on going until you're bored. And if you're bored before you finish, then you need to come back and have another go. But try and get as much done as possible. Okay.